Hi, I'm Ed Vaizey and I'm the chairman of the advisory board of Digital Futures. Digital Futures is a mission-led technology training company. It's based in the UK. And our mission is to create opportunity for people from all backgrounds and people who really need our support to start their career in technology. What we do is we provide training in technical and professional skills through our academy. And then we deploy people across industries into exciting technology roles across software engineering, data science and cloud engineering. We really believe in the value of passing it on and inspiring future generations. On this podcast, we're going to be speaking to industry leaders about their own journey to success. We'll look into the two topics that sit at the heart of our mission: diversity, equity and inclusion, and the skills gap. Hi Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Great.
Very good of you to come on.
Great to be with you, Ed.
Obviously we're going to find out a lot about your background. We're going to talk about why you set up Digital Futures and the mission and what it's and what you're achieving so far.
Great. Well, it's great to be here and I look forward to it.
We're on these funny, slightly reclining chairs, which people listening to this podcast can't hear. So I'm leaning forward to try and show energy and enthusiasm while you're looking very laid back.
Well, that's my natural style, Ed.
But you're not that laid back. So tell us your story, because you came over to the UK from Australia, aged
just turned 20 at the time, so very young.
And you'd left school, you hadn't gone to university, you came here with the proverbial few quid in your pocket, zero prospects.
Indeed.
What happened next?
Well, I was very ambitious from a young age and I was very keen to break into financial services. But because I didn't go to university, as you rightly said, I found it very difficult. So after many applications and many attempts to do so, I finally got a break. I managed to secure an interview with Barclays at the time.
So how many kind of letters? This was in the days of letters, of course.
Days of letters, and also the financial services sector's moved on a long way from when it was when I came to the UK. So lots of calls, lots of letters, lots of recruitment agencies, and found it incredibly difficult. But as I mentioned, got that break, had that interview, and when I met the hiring manager, a chap called Colin Taylor, he remains a very good friend of mine to this day. He looked beyond my lack of education and he saw my potential, my drive, a lot of things that we now seek to identify in the individuals that come through Digital Futures. And he gave me that opportunity. And that one hiring decision changed the rest of my life. I then spent the following decade in investment banking, working for Barclays and then RBS. And then I saw the opportunity that the financial crisis was going to create, so I stepped out of that career and set up.
So this was about 2008-9?
2008, indeed.
And you were about 30 at this point?
Yes. And I saw the opportunity. I set up my previous company, Parker Fitzgerald, which was a risk management advisory firm, which I grew internationally, and then I ran that for the next decade, helping large financial institutions navigate through the new regulations and improve their overall risk management. And then I sold that to Accenture in 2019, August 2019. And then I guess what's really led me to Digital Futures is pretty much that one moment in time, the opportunity that was afforded to me. Whilst it was a great privilege, running Parker Fitzgerald and working with so many amazing people, I knew that I always wanted to come back to that point and do something meaningful. So for me, Digital Futures is all about that and my ability to really create opportunity in the same way that it was provided to me for those that most need it.
So it always takes a lot of courage, I think, to set up your own business. You could have stayed at RBS, presumably earning a decent salary and so on and so forth. And I've never set up my own business. So I'm always intrigued to talk to founders about what it is that gives you the courage to do that.
Well, I would say it's two things. One, I saw the opportunity, and I was determined to take advantage of that. But secondly, the person that was most supportive in that process was my wife. She was pregnant at the time with our first child. She had recently left JP Morgan. but she also believed in me, and she also agreed that there was a great opportunity. The one thing she did say to me, if it is the condition of me agreeing for you to do this, is that you do it in a way where it's going to be meaningful, impactful, I think it was through her support and also my own inherent belief that I could capitalise on the opportunity. They were the two kind of major things that allowed me to take that step.
And did you hire many Scots when you were running Parker Fitzgerald? Did people walk through the door who weren't perhaps on paper the right fit, but you thought, I'll give this guy a break?
Quite the opposite. So because of the services that we were providing, it was a very experienced offering. I was hiring former bankers, former regulators, experts in their respective fields, because they were dealing at the most senior level of organisations. And unfortunately, there is still within the industry, people are still quite biased towards education. There's a certain bias. So I was hiring out of the best universities. I was hiring very, very senior people because to be fair, the problems that we were solving were incredibly complicated, and we were competing against the big four and the largest strategy firms in the world. So I had to match that with the individuals, and of course that had a certain their educational profiles were very similar.
And so you sell your company and you've made a bit of money. You could have sat on your proverbial.
Yep.
And not done very much, or had a portfolio career, as it were. What made you decide you wanted to set up a new enterprise?
Well, the after spending the best part of 2 decades in the city, after I stepped down as CEO after the integration with Accenture, I took some time out. I actually went to Switzerland. This was just before COVID broke, the first time round, and going to Switzerland allowed me to reflect on my life and think about what I wanted to do next. I'm too young not to do something. And through that process that I went through, it was really clear to me that I wanted to do something really impactful to create a legacy. I kept coming back to this moment of truth in my life that changed, that provided me that opportunity, and that's really what I want to do. And I did that because I believe that talent exists in all parts of this amazing country, but the opportunity doesn't. And so I wanted to solve that problem, but do it on scale.
So tell me a bit about what makes Digital Futures different. I want to talk to you in a minute about how you get candidates who have the standard issue CVs and education backgrounds. We all talk about a digital skills gap in this country, but there are a plethora of kind of providers who purport to fill that gap. What did you think was missing? What does Digital Futures give that other companies may not?
Well, you're right. There are lots of different options for organisations, lots of different other companies to work with that are focused on skill development. I think for me, what really Digital Futures does, which is extremely unique, is it unlocks these incredible talent pools that exist, as I mentioned, in all parts of this country. Individuals that have been overlooked, segments of society, that need support, whether they're former athletes, whether they're former servicemen, whether they are, parents returning to work. But we are able to access those talent pools who are highly diverse, who are highly motivated, who are individuals who want to work and do well, but they need support in order to do so. And that's where Digital Futures comes in. We are that segue between these incredible talent pools and employment opportunity. We've designed the academies in a way that equip these individuals with exactly the right skills, directly relevant for the clients that we work with, and we help build their resilience and their professional skills throughout the entire program so that they go on to become future leaders of these incredible organisations.
But when you say you go to talent pools that haven't been tapped, how do you find these talent pools? Where are they? Who are you reaching out to? Which organisations were you potentially working with that will find you people who would be the right people to undertake these courses?
Well, we've got this amazing internal team that do only that. So they're responsible for what we call our ecosystem of partners, and those partners range from universities, mainly non-Russell Group universities. They include school academies, they include special interest groups, all of whom have member bases. And so we actively market and have partnerships with those groups and market to attract. And as I mentioned, that's up and down the country. So yes, we're based in London, but we service clients across the country. And that's how we do it. And it's really, really effective. And we're generating roughly about 2,500 people per application cycle, which is quarterly.
What, application cycles every quarterly? Yeah?
Every quarter, yes.
And you get 2,500 people and you give them aptitude tests.
That's right. We assess them. We assess them in multiple ways. We've built a proprietary assessment model which looks at the behaviours and the underlying potential of the individual. And we also assess their cognitive ability, and they're also interviewed as part of that process. And then we select a small percentage of that population, and then they join us and they train with us for 14 weeks. And once they graduate from the academy, we then hire them, and then we deploy them into our clients.
And give us, I guess the need to have a more diverse talent pool is a given. We can explore that in a minute. But one of the things I just want to get right is that no one's going to hire people who can't do the job.
Yep.
And when you say, we give people a 14-week software course or a 14-week cloud course, the layman, i.e. me, would say, well, is that long enough? I mean, we're talking people with, what I would think is, the person you want is somebody with a 3-year computer science degree, or if you are going to take somebody who's not got those skills, it'll be a 2-year apprenticeship. How can you possibly get somebody from 0 to 60, as it were, in a 14-week course?
Well, we've managed to do it, and as I mentioned, we're now doing that on scale. And the way we do it is, a combination of how we identify the individual, so how we assess them and ensure they've got the right intrinsic capabilities to be successful in the academy. We take that process very, very seriously, and quality needs to underpin everything that we're doing. So, many of these individuals do come from university, and a large population of our graduates that apply actually come from a STEM background. But what we're finding is, in the UK educational system, there is divergence between the needs of industry and what they're being taught in university. So yes, while it's great to have a STEM related degree, the reality is that a lot of the work that they do at university is not practical, and it's extremely practical at Digital Futures. The academy is run by industry experts that oversee the learning. The work that they do is very much influenced by our clients in terms of the team engineering projects. So what they're getting with us is not a basic understanding of the technology. They're understanding the technology, the tools, the frameworks, but they're putting that to work, solving real world problems. So therefore, when they join the organisations that we work with, we ensure that what they are learning is directly relevant to the work that they'll be doing when they graduate from us. But it's also, more importantly, about identifying and working with the individuals that have the things that we value so highly at Digital Futures, things like curiosity, things like ambition, things like aptitude, commitment. These are things that you don't necessarily learn. These are intrinsic behaviours and traits that an individual either has or doesn't, or in some instances needs to be developed. That's what we seek out, and that's how we make sure our people are successful when they join our clients.
So give some stats on Digital Futures graduates in terms of the helicopter view, as in percentages of female, male, and that kind of thing. But also, I'd love to also hear you kind of draw a picture of the typical person, given that you're going for atypical people. That's a slightly odd thing to say, but the kind of person that is getting through the aptitude test and going on to the Digital Futures programme.
Well, there is no typical picture.
Yeah.
Number one. So we have so many incredible engineers that come to us from all sorts of backgrounds. There is not one sort of common profile, and that's what makes this so great. So it's the individuals coming through the academy are highly diverse, both in terms of their backgrounds as well as their life, the various life experiences that they have had, ranging from ex-policemen, ex-Tesco drivers to graduates from the best university in the country. So it's a rich tapestry of individuals that come through. Yes, there's an average age typically, which I think based on the 10,000 people that applied to Digital Futures last year was roughly in the low 20s. But because because there is no age, experience, or education requirement to apply, as you can imagine, we have a real variety of backgrounds or individuals from backgrounds that apply to Digital Futures. The thing that is most important to us is that Digital Futures remains fully inclusive. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our competitors will talk about they only select the top 2 talent in the country or from the university population. We don't believe in that because we believe exceptional engineers can come from any background, as we have proven. In terms of the key statistics, I mean, the statistics, the most important statistics are things such as, if we look at our diversity, over 75% come from ethnic minority backgrounds, mm-hmm. Over 50% are female, and that's consistently through all our applicants and subsequent cohorts. 27% come from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And we test for this, or we seek out those individuals that may have applied, may have been granted free school meals, or parents didn't go to university. These are things that we actively look to identify and to help those individuals. And really the most rewarding part of this job is when we do. And when I overhear, the calls that my team make when we're putting these they've been selected to go, to our incredible clients, which I'm sure we'll come on to, and hearing that message delivered and hearing the impact that makes to that individual, knowing that we've just not only delivered on our mission but changed their lives, is probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done.
So give us some examples.
Yeah.
You don't have to use real names, but give us 2 or 3 examples that have really stuck in your mind of an individual that you've kind of engaged with from the Digital Futures cohort.
Yeah, well, there are so many, Ed, but what I'll call out a few which are just incredible. And we had this one individual, not from the UK, but from Europe, who had a PhD in physics, came to the UK because he had a sick family member, was unable to find employment despite his outstanding academics. Became very concerned with that, and then started to deliver groceries with Tesco, who in fact is a great client of ours. And he did that for many years, and then he then applied to Digital Futures. And we saw his potential. We knew when we met him, my God, this will be a fantastic cloud engineer, and he's now subsequently working at Sky as a cloud engineer. There are just so many of these.
So tell us a bit about the Digital Futures clients that you've got. I mean, I've had conversations with some of them about, a lot of companies do have kind of people who are focused on diversity. And some of the people I've met at clients are really on a mission as well. They take it extremely seriously. It's not just window dressing, but at the same time, as I said earlier in the podcast, it's no good just supplying people to meet a diversity target, if I can put it in that sort of slightly crude way. They have to be able to do the job as well. So how have you found in terms of what are the kind of clients, who are we working with? What kind of requirements do they have? What have you found in terms of, as the business has developed, what is the best way to work with a client?
So when we started Digital Futures, I was resolute about the types of organisations that we were going to work with. And the first thing was they needed to be large institutions, so typically FTSE 100 or S&P 500 pedigree. And the reason for that is because they ultimately will provide fantastic career continuation for our engineers.
Yeah, and also it's very aspirational for the people who come on our academy.
Correct. So it's symbiotic in that way. And so we are now working with many FTSE 100 companies, the likes of HSBC, for example, the likes of Sky. We've got so many great partnerships. Is another fantastic example. as well as some of the large, the really large consulting firms and other technology companies. So we don't focus on any particular sector. It's really about two things, Ed. First one is that they are the big and the best. That they provide a great working culture, positive working culture, but most importantly, that they've bought into the mission. They want to work with Digital Futures in partnership to solve three critical issues, which is, as you say, improving workforce diversity, digital skills, but most importantly, retention. What is it that we do to make sure that the individuals that we invest in and that our clients invest in ultimately stay with them and become future leaders of their organization? Because retention, as you know, especially within the technology sector, has been a perennial issue. That's in large solved through our model. We have a 94% retention rate, which is the highest in the industry, something we're very proud about.
94% of the cohort you recruit stay on the course?
Stay on the course and complete their 2-year placement with our clients.
Fantastic.
And that's the highest in the industry. And also the other statistic that we're most proud of is that we have a 100% offer rate. So at the end of their journey, so through the academy and at the end of their time with our clients, 100% of those individuals have been offered full-time work.
That's fantastic.
74% have accepted that. They're the highest statistics in the industry.
That's amazing.
Yes, we're very proud of it.
Okay, final question, and it's sort of big picture question, which is which is what I ask everyone on this podcast: is your digital skills minister for a day, or you can be prime minister if you want. It depends on the size of your ego. But every country in the world, even particularly developed countries, in fact, have a massive digital skills gap because the revolution that's happened has happened very, very quickly.
Yes.
And my kind of trite dinner party line is, obviously every company is a digital company. Your supermarket is now a digital company, even though you're walking into a physical store to not be able to buy tomatoes. What is, as it were, the UK PLC or the UK government, as it were, getting wrong? Or to put it in a more positive light, what is the kind of couple of changes you might implement if you had the power to kind of wave a magic wand from Whitehall to kind of make an impact?
Well, great question, and I've given that lots of thought in the past. And I think the one thing that I would encourage government to do would be create a tighter union between government, so policymakers, industry, and academia, which and part of that process with technology. The reality is that we are partway through the fourth industrial revolution. We are transitioning to a skills-based economy, and the education system is outdated.
Yeah.
It's being driven by advancements in technology, and therefore that needs to be triangulated between government, industry, tech, and academia. And I think if we get that right, and if the education system can be adapted to keep pace with the developments in technology, then Britain will retain its position as one of the global innovators, and that's what it needs at this point in time.
And just as a kind of coda to that answer, because I did promise it was the last question, as a coda, if I was from the government, as it were, I'd say, well, look, we're doing apprenticeships, they're game-changing. Why haven't you gone down the apprenticeship model?
Well, they're not there. When we set Digital Futures up, we studied the apprenticeship scheme, we studied boot camps, we studied the graduate program. We spent 9 months talking to industry, talking to academia, talking to government about the ways that how the positives of those models, how they've been successful, where the challenges were. So all of that learning and research and conversations that we had has all we've used that as inputs into our thinking about how to solve the two big challenges that we spoke about at the start of this podcast, which were the creation of opportunity and by virtue improving diversity and digital skills. And the best way to do that is through the model that we have designed at Digital Futures. And that's what our clients tell us as well. They say the apprenticeships are too time intensive for hiring managers, that the skills are developed over a much longer period of time, and therefore the value and impact that apprentices have takes longer. Now, don't get me wrong, do I believe in it? Absolutely. But really, clients have problems that need to be solved today. And in many instances, it takes much longer for an apprentice to get to the level that we train within the time that they're with us, and therefore the impact they have is slightly different. Great scheme, and we need more of it. But really, we're focused on solving today's problems through the skills that we've developed and the quality of the experience and skills that we're equipping our engineers with, so they can be effective and add value from day one.
Okay, you're CTO for a day.
Yes.
Why should I take your call? You know, I'm bombarded by companies like you.
Yes.
And it's really hard to integrate people who kind of come from an agency, if I can put it that way. Why should I take your call?
Because Ed Vaizey is the chairman of our advisory board.
So true.
Well, look, I think really the CTOs should accept my call, which they do, but they should do that based on our mission as an organisation. There's so much more corporate conscience now. It is the right thing to do to create this opportunity. We can only do it through these amazing partnerships and clients that we have. And at the end of the day, they are getting fantastic capability and helping change lives as part of that process.
Great. Scott, Vincent, thanks very much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ed.